Yes, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor here, joined by Brownie. We're here for the match preview. This feels a bit weird. Brownie, I feel like we've not done this in ages. Brownie's full of cold. I've been running round, as you can probably tell by the beaming stain on my forehead. But I hope you're all doing well. Everybody in the comment section below who's been waiting now for a good 15 minutes. I had to delay it because I was rushing back in the car. First of all, mate, how on earth are you doing? We've been speaking off air, but I want to know some detail. Everyone wants to know where on earth Brownie has been.
Well, this international break seems to have gone on forever, doesn't it? It seems an age since we played Watford. The home game at Watford seems a long time ago, but I've had a mental week myself. I've been doing my UEFA B over in the dark side, over the hill in Manchester. So I've been there 3-4 times this week. Here, there, and everywhere. Always learning, Connor. Always learning.
Always learn. This is what you can bring. It's the insight that you can bring to the One Leeds show, mate. Innit? That's why you're doing it. Really, it's not for any sort of like future prospects.
Yeah, it's not for jobs down the line. It's just for chatting shit.
That's it. People saying Brownie sounds bunged up. Sujal, he is. He's bunged up. He just a bit of the flu, is it, Dave?
I think I'm like I said, I've just been here, there, and everywhere. I think I've done about 700 miles this week, and then I'm getting up at about 10 to go to Southampton.
Nearly as you going? You nearly. I nearly segued nearly as many miles as Rafa's going to be doing overnight. But there you go. You're going 7 hours there, 7 hours back. Is it?
I wish I'd have been going man in a private jet to get there. I'd have landed on the pitch.
Brilliant, mate. Okay, so Brownie is always the voice of reason, says John B. I tell you what, his head's getting bigger and bigger over there now. But yeah, no, that's why he's on the show. That's why he's on the show.
You know what it is, Connor, though? It's
Go on,
just
mate.
Saying it as it is. Don't beat
People
around
like
the bush.
it, don't they? People
don't
like
beat
it.
around the bush.
No.
And call a spade a spade.
Call a spade a spade. Yeah, call the flu the flu. Right, mate, shall we get into it? God, we've got so much to discuss. Everyone, get your comments in the section below. There's going to be no real time limit on this. Obviously, you know, we're going to have to get off to our families at some point, but I've not really got a schedule of 30 minutes and that's that or whatever like I normally do. But straight away, I can't really think of anything else aside from this to get into. Raphinha went away for 3 games on the international break. Venezuela, Colombia, and last night he absolutely destroyed Uruguay pretty much by himself.
He did.
World class. We've all been saying for the past 3 or 4 months. Everybody's sort of been disputing it. Who aren't Leeds fans? Who are outside the top 4, obviously. And it looks like, mate, he's done it on the world stage. 2 assists, 2 goals, 2 big chances created. Only 145 minutes played. He's done all right, hasn't he? He's done all right. I think he's announced himself, hasn't he, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Us Leeds fans have seen it since day one. I seem to remember us doing a preview for some game when he first came, and I said even in the Champions League days, he's in my lifetime the most talented player to wear a Leeds shirt in my lifetime. And the scary thing is he's only getting better. I mean,
yeah,
your full international Brazil debut, and he's scoring 2 for Brazil. He's not messing about like Mickey Mouse teams. It's Brazil. Celebrating with Neymar. If you'd have told me 4 years ago that a Leeds United player would be celebrating an international goal with Neymar, I'd have asked what you were taking, honestly. And that's only testament to Leeds, isn't it? How far we've come and the Bielsa factor that we always go on about. But he has turned players into international footballers. You look right across the board. Phillips, Bamford, got Raphinha, Cooper's going with Scotland, Dan James, Ty Roberts with Wales. That's just the field we're playing in now. And I don't want to go too much onto how long we'll have Raphinha for, but anyone with half the brain cell know that he's going to the top.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for Leeds fans, isn't it? And myself and you included, obviously, we have the sentiment, but listen, he's not going to be, in my opinion, a Leeds player for much longer. It is what it is, so we've got to enjoy it. And it looks like I mean, I was saying at the start as well, Brownie. I know me and you were talking about it, but people laughed at me when I said he could fit into any 11 in the world. But I look at some of the 11s now, and I think, if Rafa was surrounded by better players, you forget, without any disrespect to this Leeds lot, that he's not surrounded by utmost quality week in, week out, and if he was at that level playing with that style of play, we're only going to improve him. It's quite scary to think about where he could actually get at. I just even think about Brown, even like a Bayern Munich now or Juventus, and I just think he'd seamlessly transition into that side.
I think it's a big shout, but I think he walks into any Premier League team. Any Premier League team, I think he walks into. So it's you'll have more knowledge of European leagues than me, obviously, with your Bayern Munich and Juventus. But if Man United, he walks into that. And the thing with Raphinha is, he's just got that X factor about him. Like we've said ourselves, he's had games for Leeds where he's not really done anything. He's given the ball away quite a lot, and then he'll produce that moment of magic, and it just what sets him away from the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even looking at him when I'm watching like players like Mahrez, and then I'm looking at players like Raphinha. I just think to myself,
Raphinha's ahead of him, I think.
Yeah.
You look at the top wingers in the league, and you look at Liverpool. Liverpool have got Mane and Salah. Would he get in front of them two? Probably not, because of just how cohesive they are for Liverpool. But I think that's the only team he doesn't walk into. Man City switch up the team left, right, and centre. Man City are fantasy football managers' nightmare. You never know who's going to play. So he'd walk into them. Chelsea, do they have any out-and-out wingers that would keep him out? I don't think so.
Not goal scorers either. I think they lack goals, don't they?
Yeah, Man City. You've touched on Mahrez. Is he ahead of him? Sterling's very hit and miss. He had a great Euros, but Pep seems to be leaving out, and there's obviously the news coming out of him wanting to play abroad. So, but I think we're going down the road of him leaving. But the January transfer window isn't open for another 8 weeks, so we've got 8 weeks at least.
Yeah, and to be honest, obviously, I think it's very unlikely, in my opinion, that we never see big signings and stuff like that in
but
January.
We're saying that, but
that much money.
Does he want? You don't know if he wants to go.
No, he was saying all the right things, wasn't he?
Yeah, so we'll flip it around.
Yeah,
he's come to Leeds, and whilst he's been at Leeds, he's turned into a Brazilian international. So he's doing the things that have made him an international footballer. So why would he want to leave? I think we touch on Phillips. Leeds have got to, and this is why maybe not this year, but the summer is big for Leeds. We both said that Leeds will probably finish mid-table to bottom half, whereas next year, that's 2 years in the Premier League. I think the next summer is a big one. Obviously, we've sold him a project when he's coming, because he gave up Champions League football to come to Leeds, to Raphinha. When he left, they were in the Champions League, and I think next summer's a big one. I think if we want to keep them, we need to add 2 or 3 more quality players of that ilk.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And listen, the recruitment for Raphinha was unbelievable. I mean, Rennes must be kicking themselves. But I think I agree with you, Brownie. I think it's going to come full circle a little bit in the summer, just in terms of, obviously we had Berardi, we had Alioski, then we had Hernandez. Then potentially, if we're not touting him out, but if Raphinha was to leave, and then maybe a couple more bodies, whatever, here and there, and it's going to turn into a project where Leeds really need to start maybe reinvigorating that squad.
Yeah, and Radrizzani said himself he wants to go down the Leicester model. Look at the players they sold, and they reinvested the money. So, I mean,
can I get your thoughts on that, Brownie? I just want to touch on, and there's a lot of people saying, don't be negative about Raphinha and stuff. We're not being negative. Yeah. I think it's a reflective thing. He's now on the world stage, and we all knew it'd happen as Leeds fans. We all knew, and you've got to talk about it really. And it's been a big sort of topic in the international break. But I wanted to get your thoughts on obviously there's some things that Rads has been sort of pulled up on this week. He was speaking about the Newcastle takeover. He was saying, there should be more of an equal playing field, and he's not necessarily happy with that. My point to that is, I can't really remember the Premier League in the turn of the century, really, where it's been an equal playing field, to be quite honest, or at least when Sky came in. And what I want you to just feed back to me here, Brownie, is when he has been quoted as saying in the last month or two about Leeds getting into Europe in the next 2 or 3 years. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, with Newcastle now into the mix, that's going to add another body into the European football sphere. Do you think maybe Radrizzani just needs to put his phone down for a couple of minutes?
He does come out with some carcass, doesn't he? But he said he'd get us into the Premier League in 3 years, and he did. And he did.
Yeah.
He's talked the talk and walked the walk. Do I think we'll be in Europe in 2 to 3 years? I'll answer that after next summer. I think this summer was very relatively quiet. Next summer has to go bigger if we're going to keep on. But
when you say big, Brownie, when you say big, obviously we know the top 6, naturally probably spend about, 80 to 120 million really every single window. If we are to break into that top 6, and this is just hypothetical, we're not deluded. It's just talking, what might happen in the future. Would Leeds need to go on sort of 2 or 3 transfer windows, really, if we're talking in that 3-year period? Would Leeds need to go on these transfer windows where we're sort of minimum spending 60, 65 million?
I think so. I think to just keep up. Look at Liverpool when Jurgen Klopp first went in. It took him a good 12, 18 months, 3 transfer windows to. You can't get every single. That's why you touch on Newcastle. They need a whole new squad, and they can't get it all at. They can't get it all at once. So this Newcastle in the European mix, I don't see it for a good few years.
No.
They need St. Maximum. Is Callum Wilson is a good Premier League striker? Will he get the team into Europe? I don't think so. So people go, they've got Maximum, Wilson, and Willock. I don't see them as European players. People might disagree, but I honestly don't. When you look at
Maximan, maybe Maximan.
Yeah, but he's been at Newcastle 2 or 3 years, and nobody's gone in and taken him away.
Yeah, true.
But as for Leeds, it's not so much spending a lots of money, because as you've seen, we've picked up Raphinha for 17, 20 million.
Yeah.
It's every Leeds fan, everybody will be watching this. We all said we needed the same positions in the summer. What do we need? Everybody said a centre midfielder. Everybody you spoke to. And it's like, I know Rodrigo de Paul went to Atletico Madrid in the end, and do you know what I mean? Champions of Spain, Champions League, but the fee wasn't astronomical. And I just think it's finding the players that we need for our positions rather than spending big, if that makes sense. Because, don't get me wrong, people go, oh, you can't knock them, they've got us to the Premier League. But clubs, you evolve. Players got us out of League One, but eventually we had to get rid of them to get out of the Championship. And that's why it is a very cynical way when you go, oh, Ayling, Dallas, Cooper, they all got us out of the champion. That's brilliant. Like Neil Kilkenny, Michael Doyle, Johnny Howson got us out of League One with Beckford, but they're not playing in the Premier League now. Do you know what I mean? You evolve as you develop. You evolve.
No, you do. Yeah. No, the example of that is Leicester, isn't it? When they came up from the Premier League, you didn't see like Richie Delat playing or Wes Morgan. You saw them evolve, didn't you? And that's
Andy King was pivotal for them. The amount of goals he scored for midfield, Andy King. But then they got into the Premier League and they went again. And I just sentiment is massive in football, obviously. And I'm not getting rid of players, but eventually we are going to have to, if Radrizzani is wanting to do that 2 to 3 European plan, eventually we are going to have to
definitely
start progressing
Yeah, should we? Yeah, let's get on to some comments to what people are saying. John H says, in terms of net spend, the Premier League clubs don't spend that big. The figures are skewed by what a few clubs spend. I agree, John, but what I would say is, you look at the squad that we have now. If we are pushing for European places and consistently staying in that top 6, if that is a pipe dream or if it's realistic, Leeds need to completely renovate the squad. Really, let's be right.
I do agree with John. Spending money doesn't buy success. Look at, I think Man United have spent, well, under Solskjaer alone, over 400 million, and they haven't won a thing. And then you look at, would you say West Ham have spent massively? I personally,
no, but
I personally wouldn't. And they've crept into Europe, and I really do look at Everton. Everton have spent a fortune. Yes, they got a lot of money in for Lukaku, and they still haven't broken into it. So I do get what John's saying. Money doesn't automatically, right, we spent 200 million, we're in the Champions League. I think Newcastle will spend loads in January. I don't think they'll finish in the top half.
No, I don't. I think, and it's interesting with Newcastle because, everyone's talking about, and we don't want to make this a Newcastle show. We're going to get onto the injury news and Southampton in just a second, guys.
Yeah.
Keep comments coming in. But, I think right now the biggest signing for someone like Newcastle would be someone who can steady the ship at the back. It's like a James Tarkowski. They're all talking about Mbappe and Haaland. It ain't going to happen.
Maybe Radrizzani's plan will work because maybe he didn't spend a lot so we can trigger Haaland's release clause next summer. Who knows?
Yeah. Right. Okay, mate. Let's try get away from that sort of stuff anyway. Southampton up next. Injury news. We don't really know what's going on. I watched a training video today, and Firpo wasn't there. Calvin wasn't there. I wouldn't read too much into that. I think Calvin's doing bloody Gogglebox tonight, isn't he? But then you've got Bamford ruled out. Raphinha for me is not gonna start. He played 70 minutes last night, and he's travelling across a time zone. So
on that one, Connor.
Yeah.
If he wasn't going to play, would Bielsa not just have ruled him out?
I think he might feature, but I don't know if he'll start. You might disagree. Maybe people in the comments might disagree. I know he'll be flying to Hampshire, but I just can't envisage him starting.
I've already seen on Twitter about an hour ago someone doing a flight tracker, and he's landed in he's already landed in England. So
yeah. I can see what Josh says. I can see this being the case. Dan James and Harrison on each side tomorrow. And listen, if you bring in Rafa on with 30 minutes to go, as long as the game's in the balance. As long as we're still in the game, which I'm not saying we're not going to be, but if hopefully we're still in the game, bringing someone like Rafa off the bench is going to be, it's ridiculous.
Quite a weapon, and obviously they've no Ward-Prowse, who's pivotal for them.
Yeah, Shay Adams as well.
And I've watched a bit of Southampton, and I think they're there to be got at. Definitely there to be got at. Yeah. They're a weird team. Sometimes you watch them and think they shouldn't be where they are. They should be a bit higher. Then some games you watch them and think, Jesus.
How can a manager be still in his job when he's lost 9-0 twice?
Well, ever since he was on the touchline on his knees crying after the beat, who was at Liverpool, I don't think they've won a game. So
was that a draw or a win?
I don't know. It'd like he'd won an Oscar. Honestly, I've never seen it like it. This is what winds me up. They're in the same league as the team, and he's on it. As a fan, I'd be fuming.
Yeah. And it was how he was bigging up Leeds last time we played them, when he was like, we want our team to be at that level of Leeds. And it's like, hold on a minute, mate, the amount you spent on the squad, the years you've been in the Premier League, it's just, it was just a bit, it's just, he said it's
very strange.
He said as well today, it's not going to be a 5-star meal playing Leeds, obviously, because, there's been one win between the two sides, but what you can always guarantee with Leeds United, win, lose, or rarely draw, is it's going to be a blockbuster. So I think it will be a 5-star meal, mate. It's going to be goals, isn't it?
Hopefully. I won't want to put my heart through it, but we always look back to that 4-3 win against Southampton away, where we were 3-0 down with like 15 minutes to go. I don't want to be in that situation, to be honest.
Yeah.
But what a day that would be if that happened. Imagine.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Sujal says, I think Danny James is coming into his own and going to unleash his power. Yeah, he scored against Czech Republic, a really nice finish. Brownie, your thoughts on Dan James? Are you sort of happy with how he's sort of evolving at Leeds? I thought he was fantastic against Watford. There's been a lot of people talking about his end product and his end product at Man United. Well, unfortunately, he's been brought into an attacking side, which, take Raphinha out, has been pretty poor in terms of final third for the entire of Bielsa's reign. So Dan James, not only does he fit in, he doesn't look out of place, but against Watford, I actually thought his offensive play was really decent. And I do, I said as well, Brownie, on the stream that, in another season and where refs are competent, he's got 3 penalties already, and potentially
if he's not wearing white, he's got 3 penalties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think he's a bit like Firpo, to be honest. I think he's got better with each game he's played, which is a good sign. It's never easy, especially for Firpo, because it's a new league. Obviously, Dan James has played in the Premier League already, but you move to a new club, it's not easy. And he has... The Watford game was good for Dan James. It was good. We finally saw a real spark. He was energetic. He was pressing like we knew he could. He was
unbelievable, that press, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was forcing mistakes. He was forcing them to kick it out for throw-ins. He was picking up the ball in good areas. I think he'll obviously play tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I expect to see another good performance.
If he and everybody get your comments in the section below as well. Gail said she likes Firpo getting better, and I would agree. He kept Sarr quiet, didn't he? In all fairness, though, I don't think they offered anything, to be honest with you, Watford. So I don't think you can properly judge it. But he didn't give them any space or any time. So I think that's definitely a good measure. But if Dan James is to start, and obviously, Raphinha's on the right every day of the week, is it still Harrison guaranteed over James on that left-hand side for you, even when, let's say, everyone's fully fit, which never seems to happen?
I'm going to say, Bielsa, I wouldn't say get lucky, but even especially the centre-half pairings, he's never really been in a position where they've all been fit and he's had to pinpoint his best two. There's always one's pulled up with an injury, one's suspended. Do you know what I mean? Stewart then gets suspended when Cooper comes back. So they've always slotted them back in. I think the Watford game was the first time where James, Harrison and Raphinha were all fit. But then obviously Harrison's just coming back from a illness. I think tomorrow, again, it's not an easy decision, but like you say, Raphinha has been travelling halfway across the world. So I think next week will be the first time where all three, touch wood, nobody gets injured tomorrow, all three are fit, having trained all week. Who's he go with? And I think I messaged you after the Watford game, and Dan James has done that well. Is he ahead of Harrison? Where does he pitch in the pecking order?
Well, if you look at attributes, so if we had like the focus on Raphinha versus Jack Harrison, obviously Raphinha would go ahead on tricks and dribbles and pace. If you were to put Dan James against Jack Harrison, I don't know where. They're so similar, but I think Dan James purely edges it on pace. Yeah,
I think especially away from home. And this might sound weird, but away from home, the onus is on the home team to attack. I think away from home, Dan James would be suited better. But at home, like we saw in Watford, teams come, they sit, they kill the clock. They're boring at times.
Did you think he was getting at the fullbacks a little bit more, though, Brownie? I thought he wasn't looking for the ball over the top as much. He was almost getting the ball and running at them, which I thought he's not done that yet.
No, and I don't think there was any space to get him behind. I think Watford sat that deep and they were defending that far deep that there was no space to do that. But having said all that,
Jack Harrison's goal. Look at his goal contributions last year.
Harrison finished with 16 goals and assists, and he was the most for any English midfielder, which includes Foden, Grealish, Mount. So it's hard to overlook that. So at the minute, for me, I still think Harrison's ahead. I do. Yeah. I still think Harrison's ahead. But Dan James has played, 3 or 4 games?
Yeah.
And it's good to have that. It's good to have, if you're taking someone out, how many times have we taken someone out and we've had to put a square peg in around home or put someone in that's we know is nowhere near as good.
Mm.
It's Harrison comes out, right, Dan James equally as good.
Yeah, brilliant. In terms of your centre back partnership, who you looking at tomorrow? Well, I say centre back partnership, Brownie. You're probably looking at a back three tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it'll be a back three tomorrow. I do think it'll be back three tomorrow.
Southampton are going to go the top 10. Something else to mention as well about Southampton. Last time we played them, at the back, you've got Vestergaard, who's moved on. James Ward-Prowse, obviously, who's suspended. You've got Shea Adams, obviously, who's not going to be available. And there was one more as well. Oh, Danny Ings. Yeah. So you've got 4 players there who featured against us last time who aren't going to be featuring this time. It's a massive miss. So, and I know Leeds we've got. I mean, I tell you what, Brown, it's sod's law, isn't it? I mean, you could be Leeds could be without Calvin. Potentially, we don't know. He says he's doubtful. Raphinha and obviously Bamford's out, so we might be matching him up here.
Yeah, I mean, the 4 you mentioned for Southampton are huge. You'd probably say they were their 4 best players.
Bertrand too, says Robbie.
Yeah, well, wow. I mean, when you think of Southampton last season, them names you've just mentioned are the ones that you pick out, and they're all missing.
Spine, innit?
Yeah, so is it a good time to play them? Yes. On the flip side, is it a chance for other players to step in and show what they've got? But this is what I mean by when I touched on it earlier. You never know what you're going to get from Southampton. You really don't. They were really a weird team.
Did you think at St Mary's, that first sort of 20-25 minutes when they were pressing as high and they were recovering the ball, and Leeds looked a little bit, because we weren't great that game. 2-0 win, but we weren't great at all. Probably a draw was deserved, but I thought that first 20-25 minutes they were absolutely pressing the life out of us. So it's not. I know we scored. I know we won both games, didn't we, last year? But I still think there's quite a lot of similarities.
I think in both games it was like that. In both games, I remember they had a young kid playing at Ellen Road, and he got in after like a minute.
Yeah, what was he called? Was it Allo or something?
Off the left wing. And on the flip side, that tells me
Teller. You literally said it there. I think he's called Teller. He was he was off the left hand side, wasn't he? And he was causing He was causing Ayling nightmares, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But that on the flip side tells me they've tried it twice and not coped. They've tried to do the high press. They've tried to be in our faces. They've tried to go at us. And you're right, the first 20-25 minutes in both games, we were like, bloody hell, we're in a game here.
Yeah.
And then second half, they've just absolutely folded like a deck of cards. So can they do that? Are we in a better... If they go like that against us, are we in a better position? I think so. Am I going tomorrow to Southampton expecting a win? Yeah, I am.
Okay. Yeah, that was my next question. Yeah, you are expecting a win.
And I think it's vital we get one as well, because I've looked at fixtures for November, December, and I know we had a horrible stinking run last year. We came out of it undefeated, but this year, December's disgusting.
Well, I just think I don't know about you as well, but I know what everyone was talking about last season. But City went through a bit of a dour period. Liverpool let's be right, they had a piss poor season until the last 10 games. Chelsea were just getting to grips with the new manager. I think this season it seems to all be falling. It's the toughest Premier League I've ever seen. So I think going through these periods, you have to have your realistic head on, and a Southampton team who's out of form. They've not got a win yet. The pressure's going to be on Southampton like it was for us against Watford. So I think we've got to really go there and get in their faces, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right with the toughest Premier League. I think when we did the preview show, we said someone would win it differently. Like I went Chelsea, nobody can really call who's going to win it. Liverpool are in with it, Chelsea are in with it, Man City. So the competition is startling, and these are the games we had that patch where we played Liverpool, we played Man United. The first few games we played Everton, we played West Ham, we were playing teams at the top, and we said then these games won't define our season. Tomorrow is one that will. The games against Southampton, the games against Wolves, Palace are coming up in November. They're the games where we need to win these games. Watford, we beat them. They're the games that we need to win to not keep our head above water, but just make sure that the season's got something in it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And
I'm not saying it's must win, but
it's must not lose for me. It's must not lose.
Yeah, we don't want to have to go. Like the pressure on that Watford game was. I thought the players. I could see the players with it.
Yeah.
The 90th minute, Phillips is. I've never seen Phillips launch a 40-20 into row W before, and that's the level that we got to.
Yeah.
So I think that win could just settle us down a bit, and an away win tomorrow would be lovely.
Who do you think has to have a good game? Who do you think the one Leeds player is that needs to have a really good game for us to get anything out of it?
I think defensively, if we keep a clean sheet, or at least limit them to 1 goal, we win it. I think we've got enough in us against that Southampton team to score 2. So I think defensively, if we keep them out, I think we win the game.
Jed says midfield thoughts for tomorrow. Depends on who's fit, doesn't it, Jed? I guess.
Yeah. We're all going to be refreshing Twitter at 2:00 to see if Phillips is playing. If Phillips plays, I think you see Dallas in there with him. Is it? I've been here, there, and everywhere. Is Ayling out? Ayling's out, isn't he?
Ayling's out, yeah.
Ayling's out, yeah. So I think Shackleton deserves. I think Shackleton's done well this season. I think he deserves to stay there. But the only thing that might hamper him is we're going to be playing with a back three. I don't think he put Shackleton in the middle. So I think, as well as Shackleton's played, I think he'll be the one that misses out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But then you go, who do we go up top? Does Rodrigo stay up there? Does he throw Roberts in there?
I didn't expect you to throw that caveat in.
Yeah. Man of the people. I'm just throwing out names. I know what I'd do.
Go on. What would you do?
Well, I wouldn't even put Robert top of Ben Nevis, let alone top of Leeds United. So, I'd put Rodrigo up top. Having said that, I thought Roberts did well when he came on against Watford.
He did. Yeah, he did. Calmed it down a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, if that effort had gone in, I think you were going to get you were going to get bombarded with messages, weren't you?
But having said that, it's an unlucky again, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
a nearly.
Nearly.
Nearly. He's got a catalogue of nearlies. All last season, how many assists? Yeah, but he nearly got one.
Yeah. Football's getting that analytical now. I said it to you last year in terms of a joke, but you're going to start seeing semi-assists. That's what it's going to be. You're going to start seeing graphs of semi-assists.
I saw one account, and I'm not going to name them. They put up something about ball carries. Best defensive ball carries. Top was Grant Hanley at Norwich. If he's doing that, that means it's wrong. If that's how it's going, don't do it. I won't be set. Do you know what I mean? I think I've said it all along, and the only stat that counts is the score. In my opinion, that's just me being old school. He's had 400 ball carries, yeah, but what's he done with it? Has he gone forward? Has he gone back? Do you know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're right.
The game's getting broken down into, like you say, we will become a point where we have semi-assists.
Yeah, that'll be a thing. I'm convinced that's going to be a thing the next couple of years. Ollie says, based on last season, we dropped points this season against Burnley, Newcastle. Can't be Southampton. I'd agree with you, Ollie. I think the Burnley and Newcastle, obviously 2 teams below us. Yeah, don't get me wrong. We drew those games, which is fine. We didn't lose the games. I think that's important, but I agree. You just cannot lose this game because they are below us. You can't lose this game for that specific reason because the division's so tough this year. So I completely agree. Sean says, fancy Rodrigo to bag tomorrow. Daniel says, think Bate needs to be needs a run, been doing good things. Yeah, it's a bit of a joke. I'll be honest, is Lewis Bate.
One thing I will say on that, though, and this is not me being a downer. Love it, Brian. I'd take that. He's done really well as Lewis Bate. I've seen him in the 23s at Derby, and I saw him in the Fleetwood game when drove all the way to Fleetwood, and then Bielsa decided to play the 23s. Right laugh. We've seen Somerville and Geldart introduced, and they've been ripping it up in the 23s. Playing in the 23s and ripping it up, it's a completely different ball game playing in the first team. Yeah. And I think Charlie Creswell aside, who I thought was unbelievable in that game he played, but I thought he was very unlucky not then to miss out the next game. need to be very careful of putting too many of them in at once. For me,
But that all boils down to the fact that you're getting the owner when we're in dire need of a central midfielder coming out and saying Adam Forshaw. So then once again you're seeing a kid in the 23s who was Chelsea's captain. They offered him a massive deal and he turned it down to come to. He's an unbelievable. And Brownie, do you know what? I don't know if you've seen Livramento, who was bought he was 17 years of age. He's the best player in their side by a country mile. He's 17, ripping it up, and I completely agree with what you say in terms of you can't throw too many of them in. But this is where Leeds. This is what Bielsa wants. He wants a small squad. He wants the under 23s to be tight so he can call on them at any moment, really. But
don't get me wrong, brilliant. I think the way we're doing it, I think like we've got England under 17s, England under 18s, England under 20s, England under 21. I think it's brilliant. And but the last time we had a bit of a golden generation was obviously O'Leary's boys. They didn't all come in at once. Cool had a go. Smith came on at Anfield.
Are you forgetting Byram, Cook, Taylor, and who was the other one? Mowat.
That worked. Yeah, it worked, didn't it?
I remember at Wolves, I went to Molineux and they're all in the midfield. I was like, what is going on? They're all about 12.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head there, haven't you? Like, all gone on to have fantastic careers.
Yeah.
But I think we need to... We've seen Somerville come in. We've seen Creswell. It's really good that they're getting in, but I think I'd be very cautious of throwing them all in. But like you say, when we've got gaps...
Forshaw's back again.
I read last week he was out for a month.
Yeah, he's back. Apparently, he's got a little bit to do, but he's back in contention. So there you go.
We've heard that before, though. He's back on grass, and then 18 months later, he was on that Take Me Home TV program on his sofa, and he was back on grass just before that.
He's just in his garden.
But would you be going full? Would you be surprised if Bate played tomorrow?
Yeah. Would you? What you're saying? You wouldn't be surprised.
I'm just saying Bielsa will throw anything at you.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I just like when I've seen the amount of times Gelhart's been on the bench, I'm still not convinced he fancies him. I'm still not convinced.
Well, he came on at Fulham and touched the ball twice, and I'm just saying that's the jump. In the 23s,
think that was Leeds, though? Do you not think that we were crap that game? We're just hoofing the ball up. It's like, well, what's he supposed to do? Like, against Odarabayo or whatever, he's about 6'9".
In the 23s, Somerville plays, Geldart plays, and they rip it up. They pull up trees every time.
Yeah.
When we played Fulham, Somerville played, Geldart played. Was it McKinstry? I'm sure he came on.
He came on, didn't he?
He came on. And I'm just saying it's just, there is a gap.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Massive gap. Huge gap. Yeah. Yeah, so Connor says, how old were Alan Smith and James Milner when they... Just great question. I think Smith was 18.
Milner was 16. Smith was he 17, 18?
Scored at Anfield, didn't he?
Yeah. And that's what I said about the O'Leary guys.
Yeah.
O'Leary, Woodgate, Smith, Kuehl, they all came through, but they didn't all start the game. There was a bit of a gap between each one.
Definitely. Right, mate. We'll look to wrap it up because I know you've got a cold and I'm going to get my tea. I want a score prediction from you, mate, before we go.
I agree with was it Brian before?
Brian, yeah.
I think 2-0.
2-0. Oh God, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? And do you know what that'd be great about that, Brownie? That'd be 2 games, not only 2 wins, but 2 clean sheets.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
I think it'll be very similar. Very.
We didn't get your centre back partnership. Or your back 3.
I thought you'd forgot that.
Back 3, yeah.
I think it picks itself. To be honest, I think it's Lorente, Stewart, Cooper.
Super duper. Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah. I think then. Would you play anybody else in there?
No, it's interesting, isn't it? So it's going to be 2 left footers in there, which we know he's not a big fan of, but it is what it is. We can't do anything about it, can we?
But you threw a spanner in the works with Firpo.
Yeah, we don't.
In the trade video.
Yeah, he wasn't, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if you read too much into the training video, to be honest.
Saying that, worst case scenario, and he's not available.
Yeah.
Who plays there? Robert, it better not be. It
Mate,
better not be that.
It's going to be Liam McCarron. He's trying to convert him into a left back, hasn't he, or left wing back from central midfield. I'm with you, mate. I have no idea who goes on that left hand side. Harrison,
Dallas.
Yeah, it might be Dallas actually. Yeah, it will be Dallas.
And then that'll allow Shackleton inside or
Roberts.
Yeah. Phillips, click. If Phillips is hard, because I've gone from 2-0 to thinking, right, there's no Bamford, there's no Phillips.
We don't know, but I think what I will say is if we get the team sheet tomorrow, and even this is what I'll say, mate, even Phillips and Rafa are out, that is massive. Like those two are just.
If I'm on that M3 or M42 or whatever it is at 2:00 and I see team, my head's gonna go, mate.
I think he'll be fine. I think Calvin will be fine. I think an 80% Calvin still plays.
I wonder if on Gogglebox tonight. I wonder if he's got an ice pack on. That could be a telling sign.
He's Do you know who he's next to on it? I think he's next to that H, and I swear he's a scummer. He's a scummer, isn't he? Why do they all? It's like they're touting him out. John Sanders.
Yeah, I don't see us losing it.
No, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Leeds win as well. John Sanders says, good show, lads. Nicely balanced. Made me laugh as well. There you go. So added value. Brownie, thank you so much for joining. Go get some night nurse, maybe a lem sip or something like that, mate. Just chill out before your 54-hour trip tomorrow.
Well, weirdly, this is going to make you laugh even more, John. In the morning, I'm at Fireman Sam Live, taking my lad to Fireman Sam Live, and it says it's 3.5 hours from where I am. Now, I think I'm pushing
What do you mean?
Get there.
Where's Fireman Sam Live?
Lincoln. I'm off to the theatre in the morning, right? It's a weird day. I'm going to be watching Norman Price and Elvis and Sam at 10:30. It finishes at 11:30, and it says from Lincoln 3.5 hours, which gets me to Southampton at 3:00. So any dot of traffic.
Oh, you're not doing yourself any favours there, mate. You need to be setting off dead early in the morning to get down there. It sounds like you're just going to be going like on point.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be rolling up at St Mary's at 3.
Optimistic, isn't it?
I've got a plan now. I'm going to be looking for houses with a sold sign, and then I'm going to park on that drive. If it says sold and it's empty, I'm just going to whip it on there.
That's not a bad strategy, that, to be fair. Never thought of that one. Even just getting to Lincoln, though, I mean, obviously it'll be different from where you are, but from where I am, Lincoln is a nightmare. Just fields everywhere, mate. It's a nightmare. The roads are all doom and gloom. Yeah. Right, everybody, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you in a bit. Cheers.